Hey guys, it's me. Ed, today I wanted to do like a short video. You could probably tell in the background what this video is about, or you just look at the title. Um, I finally want to talk about Xenoverse 2. As you can see, I finally just finished the final DLC. Well, I don't have to do this anymore because it is legitimately the final DLC for Xenoverse 2 after, let's just be real, 10 years. People are saying almost 10 years. It's been 10 years. We've gotten, what, 23 or 24 DLCs now. And I seldom ever talk about Xenoverse 2 on my channel. I probably have had like 1 or 2 videos of Xenoverse 2, and the reason I don't cover a lot of Xenoverse 2 is because when the game first came out in 2016, I loved it. I have the collector's version. Obviously, I'm still playing the game. I finished the final DLC, and it's great to finally see the credits for this game that has been going on for, let's be real, more than 10 years now, because Xenoverse 1 and Xenoverse 2 kind of like came back to back. So it's like we've been dealing with Xenoverse, or not dealing, but like playing Xenoverse for, 11 years now, basically. And to be honest with you, I have a lot of fond memories with the game. But then I also have like some very mixed opinions for the game. I do think, I'll just get this out the way, I'm glad that it's over. I think a lot of people probably are glad that it's over, and then there are some people that really go hardcore for Xenoverse 2, specifically Xenoverse 2. Me personally, I do love Xenoverse 2. To me, Xenoverse 2 is the third greatest Dragon Ball game of all time. Prior to Sparking Zero, it was like the second. To me, Sparking Zero right now is like firmly above this. Even now, I can finally say it in my opinion. But in terms of content, Xenoverse 2 is #1 amongst all Dragon Ball games, literally all of them, even over Dokkan Legends, because with Dokkan Legends, a lot of that content you have to pay a lot of money for. And there is a bit of, paying to win, pay to win in this game. But a lot of it wasn't. But at the same time, there was an absurd amount of DLC, and that's like one of my main issues that I've had with Xenoverse 2 specifically, not Xenoverse 1, because anybody that was around in 2015 knows that Xenoverse 1 only had like 1 season of DLC, which was the GT DLC, and then we had the Resurrection F stuff. But Xenoverse 2, it's been an endless amount of DLC, so for me it was just like, okay, how can I ever get around to giving my thoughts on something if it just never stops? Me personally, I thought Xenoverse 2 should have and would have been a great way to end. A couple years back when they had the Majub and End of Z Goku DLC, I got the feeling that they were trying to end the game. I mean, there was literally a point of time when they said, hey, Xenoverse 2 is over, during the cutscene for that DLC. But I guess we know now. I mean, Xenoverse 3 is on the way, but back then we didn't know. We didn't know, right? And then in retrospect now, we know that Xenoverse 3 was in production for years and was supposed to release a few years ago, and that's what turned into the Breakers. It's a complicated story from what I've heard, but I mean, better late than never, right? We are going to get Xenoverse 3 next year, so it's perfect that they're finally ending this. I do think a lot of the time, the problem with Xenoverse is that Xenoverse was always in our face, and in this case, Dimps didn't really give us a chance to miss Xenoverse 2. I'm only speaking for some of the fan base here, but that's the kind of fan I am, where it's like, you need to take like a little break for me to miss you. I think that's why a lot of us went so hard for Sparking Zero when Sparking Zero got announced and released eventually, because in that case, it was like the complete opposite, where we waited 17 years. Xenoverse 2, it's like the moment we're done with content, they're releasing more content or talking about more content. But overall, right, like, I wanted to kind of give my criticisms of Xenoverse 2 beforehand, before I start talking about what I love about Xenoverse 2 in retrospect now that Xenoverse 2 is done. The gameplay to me is not as good as Sparking Zero or Tenkaichi 3, in my opinion. It's always been like Dimps' attempt at a Tenkaichi style game. But with that, aside, there's so many things to love about Xenoverse 2, and like, if people want to call Xenoverse 2 like the greatest Dragon Ball game of all time, I won't agree with that, but like, I won't necessarily debate that, because just the sheer amount of content. I mean, I have so many great memories with Xenoverse 2. I can remember 2016 getting the collector's edition, you know, skipping college, like a couple of classes here and there just to play it. I mean, I graduated, so it's like, whatever, you know, you can afford to skip because this is a moment. I did the same thing for Xenoverse 1 in 2015. I skipped class and played it all day long. I played Xenoverse 2 every single day with my friends in college. And then even after college, I was still playing Xenoverse 2. And one thing I can say I love about Xenoverse 2 is that open world, in this case, Canton City. It's the most interactive Dragon Ball game for sure, unless you want to count fighters, but that's more of like a, you know, real world community type of thing. In this case, Xenoverse 2 is easily the most interactive and most consistent community I have seen for any Dragon Ball game. Even like the folks that still play Budokai to this day, Xenoverse 2 has the most active and consistent and probably loyal community amongst all the Dragon Ball games. I mean, you log into Canton City and there's always, you know, CACs walking around. People are always playing parallel quests. That's the one thing I will give Xenoverse 2 over any Dragon Ball game ever, is the amount of sheer content. If you're bored with Xenoverse 2, it's really just as simple as you don't like it, because Xenoverse 2 has an endless amount of stuff. You know, Hero Coliseum. People don't talk about Hero Coliseum anymore, but that was back when Dragon Ball Heroes was like the big thing everybody loved. So they made Hero Coliseum. They've done like literally 23 or 24 DLCs, so it has one of the biggest character rosters ever. And you see it in the background there. You know, I'm very thankful for Xenoverse 2, seriously, even though I have my criticisms of it. Another thing, I mean, we have endless modes. You have expert missions, crystal raids. With this last DLC, they just announced another mode after this, which I'm about to play and find out. But like, there's been endless modes. There's, you know, the endless amount of parallel quests. I mean, last time I checked, there's like almost 200 parallel quests, and you can play online with people. Expert missions, like I already mentioned, the endless amount of story modes, which the pros of Xenoverse 2 are also the cons, because it's like, imagine if you never played Xenoverse and you wanted to get into it. You would have to probably spend about $200 easily on content. But then again, on the flip side, you have an endless amount of content, so it's like you can really enjoy yourself for years with Xenoverse 2. And there's been an endless amount of patches, so it's like if somebody were to get into it now, they would get the optimum version. Whereas, you know, someone like myself or any of the other fans that have been playing since day one, we've had to face countless amount of patches, changes to, you know, certain moves. I was never a competitive Xenoverse 2 player. I did play a lot of ranked and player matches when the game was like fresh, meaning the first couple of years of Xenoverse. But the problem with Xenoverse is it's more of a Dragon Ball MMO as opposed to a fighting game. So the problem is you will play people who optimize move sets, skill sets, and that's the problem, right? I keep saying this, but the problem and the great thing about Xenoverse 2 is a double-sided coin. The pros are the cons at the same time. It's like you can play as so many different races, right? And you have so much content. But then also, like, if somebody were brand new to Xenoverse 2 and they played it today, they would just get obliterated by somebody who's been playing for 10 years and optimizes a Saiyan, you know. And then in this case, right, like, you know, there's so many different transformations, but Saiyans have the most transformations. You know, there's literally almost everything under the sun for a Saiyan. Of course, you know, the other humans, Majins, you know, they have their transformations, but it's very clear at this point the meta is going with the Saiyan at this point in time in 2026, and it has been for, you know, a long time now. It's hard to kind of encapsulate all of my thoughts on Xenoverse 2 because it would be one of those things where we would talk about it for hours. But like, I wanted to make this video kind of like as a tribute to Xenoverse 2, that, you know, I even though it's not my favorite Dragon Ball game, for a long time it was the main Dragon Ball game that I was playing because it was getting the most active content. And then me and my buddies would play it all the time, me and my cousin. And it has like a special place and a special special fragment in many people's memories. I mean, me personally, like when I think of Xenoverse 2, I think of college, and then I also think of Rhyme Style. Obviously, I was watching Rhyme Style prior to his Xenoverse content. I was actually put onto Rhyme Style during 2014 for Battle of Z, but we all know that he still produces content to this day. Him and his buddies, they still produce it. Xenoverse 2 bigger is like bigger than the average Dragon Ball game. Like Xenoverse 2 is like an enigma. I don't think there will ever be another Xenoverse 2. Even Xenoverse 3, I don't think Xenoverse 3 is going to get the amount of dedication and content that this game had for 10 years. 10 years is crazy. I mean, when Xenoverse 2 first came out, I was in college, and 10 years later, I'm married, I have children, like, I literally grew up with Xenoverse 2. As crazy as that was, it was like, as Xenoverse 2 was still producing content. I wanted to talk a little bit more, like, about the positives, because I don't want to be too constructive with my criticism, because Xenoverse 2 is what it is. It is easily either number 1 or number 2 amongst the best-selling Dragon Ball games of all time. I know Fighters is up there, Kakarot is up there, and then Xenoverse. All of those games, to my knowledge, have sold more than 10 million copies, which make them easily the best-selling Dragon Ball games of all time. So it is a very important Dragon Ball game. Not the most important. To me, the most important Dragon Ball game still to this day is the original Budokai, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. But for that PlayStation 4 era, you can argue that it was just as important, if not more important, than Dragon Ball Fighters. So let me get back to my positives. I think the best DLC that they ever came out with for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, because, when we talk about Xenoverse 2, it's synonymous with an endless amount of DLC, would be in 2018 when the Dragon Ball Super was wrapping up. Specifically the Ultra Instinct Goku. I forget which DLC. Was that DLC 8 or DLC 7? See, at this point, it's gotten ridiculous. But that particular DLC to me was like the peak of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, in my opinion. The content was filled, meaning we were getting like 7-8 characters. The story mode was great. That was when they introduced the little time scrolls where you had differing outcomes, which is great. A lot of the DLCs after that were not as good. There were some good ones. And that's kind of what led to the downfall of Xenoverse 2 in my mind, was that there was a point in time where they were just getting lazy. So in this case, right, the Future Saga, the first couple of ones, I bought, let's be clear, I have bought every Dragon Ball DLC for any Dragon Ball game. I have bought every single one, and Xenoverse 2 is no exception. So I've bought every single Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 DLC. So to me, the last couple of DLCs weren't great, especially for Future Saga. They were very lazy, especially the God of Destruction, not the God of Destruction, well, the God of Destruction Belmont one was one of the absolute worst in my opinion. But these last 2 DLCs were actually fire. The one that came out last week, Future Saga Chapter 4, and then the one with Golden Frieza. And the Golden Frieza one, you can tell that there was a lot of effort being put into it, but you also sensed like the finality of it. Like they were referencing the beginning of the game, and that's how you know that this series was, that Xenoverse 2 was coming to an end. And you get a little bit emotional, because it's like, it's not often that a game gets 10 years of support. Most games have a fall of hell, like its own child, if you will. The Breakers didn't last even half as long, and that game is considered by most folks a failure. But it's very clear that Breakers was like a little filler game, them preparing for Xenoverse 3. So yeah, like these last couple of DLCs I didn't enjoy, but these last 2 were awesome. And this one is pretty good, and you can sense the finality in it. I'm glad that it's ending. I mean, people are still going to be playing Xenoverse 2. That's the thing, until they decide to close the servers, and I don't know when that'll happen. But Xenoverse 2 is a very special game. I don't think there's anybody in terms of Dragon Ball fans that haven't played it at this point, but if you haven't played it, now would be the time to play it, because it's like, if you don't play it, next year we're getting Xenoverse 3, so it's like you might as well move on to Xenoverse 3. But Xenoverse 2, like, if you've never played it, and you got like $200 extra of cash. Buy all the DLC if you want to, if you can, and play it, because it is a blast. That first time playing it, especially, you know, the Xenoverse 1 portion of it was thrilling. That, you know, this was the first time throughout the entire planet that we were able to play a good Dragon Ball game with a good character customization. Because I don't count Ultimate Tenkaichi. Ultimate Tenkaichi's character creator was bare bones at best. And, you know, before anybody mentions, Dragon Ball Online was a discontinued game, and you have to dig to be able to download it and play it. And not only are you digging to find it, you're playing like a translated, patched version of it. So, like, this is the closest thing that we will ever legitimately get to that of Dragon Ball Online. I think, well, Xenoverse 3 now will basically replace that. But, I mean, literally, the whole entire Xenoverse franchise owes its existence to Dragon Ball Online. So, like, this is, like, that fully fleshed out. Because, you know, it was only available in Korea, so there was no way, you know, over here in the States we'd be able to normally access Dragon Ball Online. But, Xenoverse 2... like I said, at this point I'm just rambling, but Xenoverse 2 is a great game. Its legacy is undeniable, no matter what your opinions are. I think Xenoverse 2 is probably one of the most divisive, and split personality games amongst the Dragon Ball, encyclopedia. Amongst all Dragon Ball games since 1986, this is probably like the most divisive Dragon Ball game, just because of its reputation, because of its longevity. Its longevity is both a curse and a blessing. And, you know, Bandai Namco, I mean, thank you for giving us, you know, a Dragon Ball game that had a level of support, because it's not often that Dragon Ball games get this type of support. I mean, even the other games like Fighters died for a long time. Fighters was legitimately dead for a long time, and then we randomly got Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku. And, you know, other games just would get like one season of DLC and then just be done. But this game, I mean, for anyone, you know, that wants to feel old, this game came out the same year as Dragon Ball Fusions. And Dragon Ball Fusions is one of the most beloved Dragon Ball games. Got like 1 or 2 months of DLC and was done. Like nobody covered it anymore. Nobody talked about it anymore. 2016 was a great year for Dragon Ball. You know, Dragon Ball Super was still fresh. It was still airing. It was the Goku Black arc. I mean, if anybody remembers, Xenoverse 2's pre-order DLC was Future Trunks and Goku Black. Like, that's how long it's been. This was before we even got Super Saiyan Rose, Blue Vegito, any of these things, any of these characters now that are in the zeitgeist of a Dragon Ball fan's mind. So it's just crazy to think about how long this series has, specifically this game, has lasted. And my hope is that Xenoverse 3, of course, is greater than Xenoverse 2. There's a lot of issues with Xenoverse 2 that I hope that they fix. I hope they fix the gameplay and make the game less of a game of running away and footsies. I hope they get rid of super armor and fake difficulty. But I do hope that there's a lot of things that they keep. You know, I hope they keep all the races that you're able to play as. I hope they do find ways to make the other races more optimal and more, you know, make somebody eager to play as a Majin, for example. Me personally, because Xenoverse 1, I mained a Saiyan. I never created a Saiyan in this game. I specifically played as a Frieza race. As soon as they announced the Frieza race, I stayed with the Frieza race the whole time. But one thing that this game, I hope Xenoverse 3 maintains, is the level of creativity that people were able to come up with. I think that's one of the main reasons why Dragon Ball fans love and gravitate to Xenoverse 2 so much, is the level of creativity that you can reach in this game is greater than any Dragon Ball game ever, and that's for sure. You know, the level of interactivity that you have with your friends online, you know, you don't necessarily have to fight your friend. You guys can go fight other people. You guys can go on parallel quests, expert missions. If you want to grind the RNG, which I don't miss because the original Xenoverse 1 had terrible RNG, but they fixed the RNG in Xenoverse 2. I hope Xenoverse 3 has even better RNG. So it's like there were so many different things to do, and the replay value of Xenoverse 2 is probably that, you know, the replay value, the longevity, and the creativity will be the legacy of Xenoverse 2. Um, I'm pretty sure Xenoverse 3 will surpass Xenoverse 2 very easily, but one thing I don't think it will surpass it on is those things: the replay value, the longevity, um, and the creativity. It probably will pass it in creativity from the footage I've seen, but yeah, this is the, in my opinion, you know, I've been rambling for 20 minutes now, but Xenoverse 2 is an old and long game. So yeah, this is like my video on the legacy of Xenoverse 2. And I just want to say cheers to Xenoverse 2 for 10 years, and thanks to Bandai Namco for keeping a Dragon Ball game alive like this, because I don't think we'll ever see this again, in my opinion. I don't think we ever will, especially now that Toriyama's gone. And but I mean, Super's coming back, so I mean the animated version, so who knows. But yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. You know, any fellow Xenoverse 2 fans, please feel free to, you know, in the comments, tell me, you know, what are your thoughts on Xenoverse 2? Where do you rank Xenoverse 2 all time in terms of Dragon Ball games? And you know, 10 years later, I would love to hear any of your memories. What were your memories like when you first played or bought Xenoverse 2? And were any of you Xenoverse 2 fans since the beginning, since October, whatever it was in 2016? I don't even remember anymore. But yeah, tell me in the comment section, and peace.